All right, joining me now, first class father, Bill Klein. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here.
All right, let's start right here. How many kids do you have and how old are they?
Let's see here. I have two kids. My son William is 9, about to be 10, and my daughter Zoe is 8 years old and about to be 18.
Yeah, very cool. What type of sports or activities are they into?
Let's see here. Zoe's into dance. She's doing Bollywood dancing, stuff like that. And my son Will is into football, much to the chagrin of his pediatric trained mother.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, do you get involved with coaching at all? Or you like to enjoy it more from the sideline?
I probably would be a bad coach because I want my team to win almost at all costs. So I'm guessing I'd be carted off the field, and that wouldn't be good. That's not a first class father, that's for sure.
All right, Bill, if you could, please just take a minute here to hit my listeners with a little bit about your background and what you do.
Yeah. So I'm 45 years old. My family and I live in St. Petersburg, Florida. I graduated from NYU back in, oh God, long time ago with a degree in biology and did nothing with it. I went into medical device sales, and then I started opening up a couple of companies. I do consulting work. I own a pet store in Houston, and we do pet product manufacturing now. And then we also participate in a reality television show called The Little Couple. It's been on TLC for almost 11 years now.
Yeah, you've had some incredible success and an awesome journey here. What led to the decision for you and Jen to decide to adopt, and how did becoming a father kind of change your perspective on life?
Um, I'll probably be better off answering it in reverse. It changed everything having kids, and I'm grateful that we made the decisions that we made, and that the path that we wound up going down was the one that we had in front of us. I don't think I could have planned it better if I had every choice in front of me. When we first started off, Jennifer and I got engaged, and we were immediately interested in adoption. But before we were married, we submitted our information to LPA, a community that supports people with skeletal dysplasia, little people, and we put our names on a list and kind of forgot about it for a while. We knew that it would be a while before our name was called. We weren't even married at the time, which we thought was a criteria, but turns out it wasn't. Moot point, but at the end of the day, we went through the process of surrogacy, knowing that Jennifer's petite stature might cause additional problems that we didn't want to endure. And so we went through that process of surrogacy. We had a couple of miscarriages. We had one that went a little bit further than the other, and the other was, I think they call it a chemical pregnancy, not quite a full blown miscarriage there. And then I guess destiny, God put us in the right spot to receive William. We received a profile from Rainbow Kids. It had William's info on it, and we fell in love immediately. We pursued him aggressively and did the paperwork and all that fun stuff. And lo and behold, we were locked and loaded and ready to go to China.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and the children are incredibly blessed to have you guys as parents. And you know what? I know a difficult decision for a lot of parents that choose to adopt is whether or not or when to tell their children that they are adopted. Did you guys have that discussion going into this, and when did you eventually or decide to let them know?
Well, of course, I think that's a decision for every family to decide for themselves. I don't know if our decision's right for anyone else. I hope that it's right for us. I'll tell you in 20 years. I think that for our part, we wanted to be as straightforward as we could with our kids, so that our stories didn't, get convoluted. It's much easier to tell the truth than to try and give the kids in a way that that's palatable for them, that they can understand it, that it doesn't seem confusing or unreasonable, or that they feel that any less loved. And as long as we can accomplish those goals, Jennifer and I didn't see any reason to keep anything from them. That being said, of course, we try to use a measure of common sense and not try and inundate them with too much info. So we take it a little at a time, and we talk about it as they grow, as they become more curious. And the more curious they are, the more information we try to glean. But of course, because of where they're from and the adoption process internationally, there isn't much information we can convey outside of the fact that they're folks loved them enough to make sure that they were taken care of.
Yeah, yeah, very cool. And what about as far as discipline goes, Bill? What type of disciplinarian are you? Who's the bigger disciplinarian in the family? And does your discipline style different from the way you were brought up with your parents?
Yeah, Jennifer punishes me all the time. No, I would say, I've gotten a bad rap. People think that I'm the what they call the fun dad, but I think overall I'm probably more of the disciplinarian as well. I think Jennifer sets the ground rules for all of us to follow, kind of our moral compass. But I think the reality is that I get to spend a little bit more time with the kids between the time that I get off work and the time that Jennifer gets off work. I have that gap, and that's every day of the week. So it's kind of nice. I get that exposure, but I also get to lay down the law. So I'd say I'm probably the disciplinarian.
Yeah, and Bill, what was the genesis of the little couple? How did that all come about, and were you on board with it right from the start?
I guess the abbreviated version is Jennifer caught the eye of some of the folks in Good Morning America. They did a little piece on a Saturday morning about little people that were women that were having success in their career. And they showed a little bit of a dichotomy between people that went into mostly entertainment and people that went into other careers. And Jennifer's obviously a good example of someone that, since she doesn't have the physical prowess, used her head to get ahead in life. And so they did that, and it went well. People seem to, like the little piece, and then TLC and a production company, I guess, called us 2008 and asked if they would follow us to our wedding. Good Morning America covered both of us at the very end of their piece and mentioned that I had proposed to Jennifer not too long ago, and that we were getting married the next spring. And so that's the genesis of it. They asked us if they could follow us to the wedding, and we turned them down. So to answer your question, no, we weren't completely on board right away. I think Jennifer and I have worked hard to get to where we are even then, and we didn't want to diminish our efforts, with anything that might be misconstrued as sensational.
Yeah, and Bill, does having the cameramen and the producers around as much as they are or have to be to do a show like yours, does that make it sometimes difficult for you as a dad? Do the kids feel like as though they could get away with more stuff when the cameras are rolling and all that sort of thing?
Well, that's an adjustment for the parents, not for the kids, I think. The kids will find, and I'm sure you've figured this out as well. I believe you have 4 kids, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, they figure out ways to manipulate. They see ins and opportunities, and they take advantage wherever they can. And when we were first parents, when our kids first came home and we had not a clue, not that we have much more of a clue now, by the way, but when we were absolutely clueless, they knew more about how to get away with something than we knew about how to prevent them. We didn't know how to punish. We didn't know how to say no. We didn't know how to, stop down from cameras. If cameras were rolling and the kids wanted a piece of candy or they'd throw a tantrum, it was more difficult to say no. I mean, we would, but then we'd have to stop down because crying kids aren't really fun on camera. And that was all they were doing was, trying to manipulate the situation. So, you have to become a parent.
Yeah, have you ever looked back at an episode or watched something and saw something in yourself as a dad where you were like, ooh, I don't really like that necessarily, and maybe made a change from it?
Yeah, it'd be great if I had a time machine and I could go back and look at everything I did wrong and fix it. I'm sure every dad would love to have that opportunity. Certainly not perfect. There are plenty of things that, I'm sure I could have been more stern or less stern or, not joking around as much, or maybe it was slightly above their, age. Some of the jokes that I throw out there, sometimes I forget my audience, and that's that's dangerous. But yeah, I think that as you look back, you of course can be very critical of some of the things you do. I think and I hope that that we use our common sense to guide us, and a little bit of a measure of reservation instead of just leaping before we look, and normally things work out.
Yeah, one thing you said earlier on there, Bill, is saying that you had a degree in biology that you never used. And one thing that I speak about, I drive Uber on the weekends a lot, and I drive a lot of college kids or just after graduating college kids that aren't using their degrees, but they're buried in debt. And I
Sure.
bring out a lot of entrepreneurs. You're a successful entrepreneur yourself. So do you feel as though college is necessary for the kids to succeed in today's world?
Of course, my opinion is just mine, but I'd say yeah. I think some sort of education, after high school is valuable. That being said, there are plenty of people that enjoy and are proficient at trades that don't require 4 years of school, and do better, earn more, have a happier life, and love what they do when they wake up in the morning. So I think for me, it made sense to go to college. I think that for most people, it's good to have some exposure to the world before you're actually accountable in it. But I don't know that college necessarily is a roadmap to a successful career, unless you have a fantastic guide.
Yeah, very well said. And how about as far as technology, Bill? It's a challenge for all of us parents. We're all competing with the technology, the iPhones and the video games and stuff like that. How do you kind of handle or monitor all that stuff with your kids?
Well, we have rules about screen time. We have rules about a whole bunch of stuff. I think structure is something that kids crave, and they work well within that framework. So I think moderation is key. Kids are using iPads and Macs and computers at school. I think it's unreasonable to think that they're going to disconnect completely when they come home. But at the same time, it's a matter of what the content is and how long they're exposed to it. And then you get into the medical side. Fortunately, I live with our physician, so she gives us good advice, and that has a lot to do with the time of day that you're using the screen. So to not watch television or be playing with video games, the hour before bed. Helps your mind relax so you can get some restful sleep. And so we try to put all that together and come up with a plan that works for everybody.
Yeah, very cool. And how about as far as the future of the show here? You guys got more seasons planned coming, or what's coming up next for you guys?
That's all secret sauce. I couldn't tell you if I knew.
Well, what about yourself? You got any kind of plans for the year coming up here? Any kind of books or anything like that we could be looking forward to?
Well, we got a lot of stuff that we're working on. We have some stuff professionally that Jennifer and I are working on, and then personally, we're always messing around with the idea of, what should we do next as far as, But we're enjoying all the stuff that we've been dabbling in between, speaking and, writing things for advocacy. We do a lot of that sort of work for folks with disabilities. Jennifer is always on the road for stuff related to children's healthcare. So we have a lot of those types of projects that we keep involved in. And then, of course, we got TV and the 9 to 5er and a couple of kids. So not to mention the 2 dogs, 2 goldfish, and a recently passed away hamster.
Oh, yeah, sorry to hear that. Yeah, we've buried a parakeet and a hamster ourselves here. But one thing that I struggle with is sorting out all the pictures. Like as dads, we love to take pictures of all of our family and stuff, but it's like it's so hard now for me. I find it to categorize everything. Do you have the old school camera like you're saying there, or do you use the phone for most of your day-to-day pictures?
No. I also have a T1i that tells you how old and how I like to keep antiquated equipment. But I have a T1i that I use as well. You know what? Something I took to India over the summer that is absolutely awesome. It's the Osmo. It's a little handheld camera with it's got a gimbal on it, so it helps people that are poor photographers like myself to look much better. I'm not saying it's professional quality, but it's a heck of a lot of fun, and it gets a lot of looks when you're playing with it too. And I use the iPhone for my quick pics, and then of course the Osmo is great for the video because it's a pretty interesting handheld that you can do all of the operation from your thumb. And then most of the time I'm lucky because the things that we do that I wouldn't say all of the things that we do have been on television that are fun times, but for most of the fun times that we've had over the past 6 or 7 years, we have had cameras around for a bunch of them. And so not only do I get to get good video, but I'm actually in it, which is unique for most dads. So.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, you have a great treasure trove of video to go back through for sure. And what
Absolutely.
about last thing here, Bill? What about for the parents out there that are considering adoption or just at the onset of adoption? What kind of advice would you give to those parents?
Adoption is it's the exact same thing. It's everything that you would hope for in a child and an experience of becoming a parent and more. It's of course it's got its challenges, and if anybody tells you that raising a child, no matter what way they come into the world, is easy, they're lying to you. And nothing's predictable, but they are amazing. They will brighten your world, and I implore you to do it and do it more often.
Yeah, very well said. I love the message. This has been an honor for me. I got to say, Bill Klein, you're a first-class father all the way, and thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time on First Class Fatherhood.
Nice to meet you, sir. Thank you for having me.